With all the success you've had, do you still face, are you currently facing any fears, or are there fears about the horizon?
Man, I have to give you amazing props. You're such a curious person about the people that you talk to. I love it. I love it, man.
Thank you.
The answer is, thank you. Are you kidding me? I've been on a ton of podcasts and people just same questions.
Welcome to Idea Climbing Radio. So happy that you could tune in today. Today I'm here with Lior Arussy, global transformation expert and the author of the award-winning book, Dare to Author, Take Charge of the Narrative of Your Life. We're going to talk about writing the narrative of your life to get to your next big idea. Lior, thank you for making the time to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, Mark, thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to the conversation.
And before we get into some of the strategies to take charge and write the narrative of your life, as far as doing that and designing your own life, how did you get so good at it that you wrote the book, you speak about it? What's your story there?
So I'll give you a little bit of the story and the background. For the last 3 decades, I was involved in a multitude of change management, corporate transformation work. Ultimately started my own consulting business, Strativity, which grew to be about 150 consultants with offices all over the world. And we were dealing with some of the toughest situations at organizations who were either forced to change because the technology was different, had some corporate crisis that required them to change, on the brink of bankruptcy, or those that wanted to change just to adapt to new opportunities. And we've done over 400 of those transformations with brands like Delta Airlines, Walmart, Mercedes-Benz, MasterCard, and a long list of them. And what we realized is that most of the challenge for organizations to shift to the next chapter of their life is not because they're afraid of the unknown. It's not because they don't know what's going to happen there, or because they're in a comfort zone. The issue was rooted in something much, much deeper than that. And that is when we, as human beings, hear the word change, we equate it with a negative judgment of the past, of whatever we've done. So let's say I was an employee in finance and I was working with my Excel sheets, and now the company is moving towards using SAP or Oracle or whatever it is. I am now hearing that my Excel sheets in the last 20 years that I worked with them were a mistake. And that is too much, Mark, too much to process. I cannot go and write off 20 years of my life because the company decided to do something new. So that was a huge insight that the real struggle is how do I help people write the next chapter of their life without threatening the old chapter of their lives? And the notion was, when change was coming, you know what we do as human beings? We become victims. We default to victimhood. And when we default to victimhood, we try to dismiss it, we try to deny it, but we're not embracing it, and we're not taking the full charge of what it can bring to our life. And my challenge in the book is, guys, no one else is going to do that. It's either we author the next chapter of our life, or it will be authored for us. And if it will be authored for us, I guarantee you're not going to like it. You're going to hate every part of it. It's going to be a grind. You'll get there to the finish line, but you'll be beaten up and wounded.
So where do you even start? If you realize I want to author the next chapter of my life, what's the starting point there?
So let me tell you, let's take an example, Mark, okay? So let's take COVID, okay? COVID was a huge change for everyone in the world. No one knew what to do. No one had a script. And all the typical authorities like health system, academia, government, nobody knew what to do, right? So we all started like victims. And I got a lot of clients coming to me and they're saying, Lior, we're paralyzed. Like this is crazy. And I said, how are you feeling right now? They said, this is an unprecedented event. And I said, so factually you're correct, but strategically you're in a very bad place, because whenever we say unprecedented, we say we're helpless and we have no tools. Because it's unprecedented, right, Mark? I mean,
yeah.
And I said to them, you know what, guys, I have good news for you. First of all, you're not the only one that got knocked down on the floor. Your competition is as well. So now it's not a question if you're in a better or worse situation, we're all on the floor. The question is, who is going to thrive in this situation, not survive? And they say, what are you talking about? We are hardly trying to survive here. And I said, I've got news for you. let's revisit the last time that you have felt that you're facing an unprecedented event. And let's see how he dealt with that. And that's exactly what we've done. The truth to how to write the next chapter starts with some chapters that we have left behind, and we have not converted them into future resilience and future tools. So what we've done, for many of them, it was 2009. For those who've gone through 2009 as business people, it was dark. And man, it was like you did not know if you'll have business the next day. I mean, personally, within less than 30 days, 90% of my orders were canceled within 30 days. And I had to start from scratch. So what I did with them is we wrote it like it's a book. What was the threat? How did you feel about it? When did you hit rock bottom? How did rock bottom look for you? Then what really woke you up to say, enough is enough, I need to get up? What was the superpower that helped you get there? What was the turning point where you realize, hey, I'm no longer the victim. I'm becoming the hero. I'm becoming the protagonist here. What values of yours came to life, and what values of yours maybe you didn't live up to? What new insights do you have as a result of it? So we wrote it like a book, like a chapter. It took us 2 hours. And by the end of it, there was a big light bulb. And they was like, now I know what my toolkit is for unprecedented events. Now I know what my superpower is. So when you want to know how to get started, go back to chapters that maybe were painful. Maybe you left them as scars. And through the authoring process, you can make them a springboard. Because I believe that we are all always in a spot where we are needed the most and where our superpower is required the most. It's just we are not aware of it because we are not converting past experiences into future strength.
So how do you become the hero? Let's start there. You mentioned that a couple times.
So I make a claim in the book, which, by the way, a lot of people took very, very personally. And I said, both victimhood and to become a hero is a choice. If you choose not to be a hero and you choose to demonstrate victim behavior, blaming, shaming, refusing to deal with reality, that's a choice too. Make no mistake, no one puts you in a situation of a victim. You put yourself by making a choice not to become the hero. A hero is not a person who's not afraid. A hero is a person who's asking a different set of questions during a time of unprecedented events or unplanned situations and so on and so forth. The victim will say, how do I survive it? The hero will say, what are my opportunities? I understand that there is a change here that I have to face, but that change, that structural change, whatever it is, technological, customer demands, whatever it is, it's also an opportunity. And a hero will come and say, I'm going to apply, I'm going to take action, I'm going to be biased toward action. I may fail and come back, but I'm not going to sit passive, make cynical jokes, blame the world, and expect the perfect situation to welcome me before I will decide to lift my first finger. Because guess what? At that time, it will be too late.
So how does the hero create opportunities? Give a few examples of that. That's pretty interesting.
So I'll give you a great example. A company that I dealt with, and they're in the baby products. Okay. We looked at the situation during COVID. Prior to COVID, their number one problem was Chinese copycats. Other manufacturers from China were copying their products, coming there to their channel partners, and basically saying, we have the same thing for cheaper, kick them out of the shelf and put us in. And they were struggling with that issue. We did this situation, this exercise with them, and we said, okay, so where are the opportunities? Don't think about yourself, think about your clients. At this point, the retailers, okay? Where are they hemorrhaging? Well, number one problem, no supply from China. China is shut down. And I said, we have factories outside of China. They don't. We have inventory. They don't. And guess what? We cannot supply all the retailers, but we can now decide and take choices of which retailers are actually partners with us and which one are treating us like vendors. And they went back to all the retailers and they said, look, we have inventory, you don't. You are in lockdown, we can deliver straight from our warehouse. But we need a guarantee for the next 3 years that we get prime situations on your shelves. We're no longer going to play the price game. So what we have done during this situation is we shifted the gravity, the center of gravity from price, which is what the Chinese manufacturers were doing, into availability and partnership. And we took advantage of the fact, without being nasty about it, but we said, look, if price is all you care about, you're more than welcome to wait for the Chinese. If you want to build a real partnership that is strategic, that is profitable for both of us, and not going to try to drive our prices all the way to the ground, then we're willing to do that. And they challenged them, literally, they said, we have inventory, but not enough for all of you. You're going to bid right now. What are you going to give us to give you inventory right now? I'll tell you a story. If you have ever been to a huge department stores in Europe, the prime space is the windows outside. Mm-hmm. One of them in London gave them full prime space, free of charge, just to demonstrate that they were absolutely serious. In other circumstances, they would have paid $100,000 for that advertising. Here, they were given to them for free. So they managed to renegotiate relationship with their partners. They were able to demonstrate that they are true partners and they are working with them not just as a price game. And they locked relationship for 3 years.
So what about if someone's listening and they're a solopreneur or a co-founder, a smaller, kind of a scrappy company? Where does the hero's journey start for that in that scenario, in that situation with a solopreneur or a co-founder? How do they start a hero's journey? How do they become the hero? Because without a ton of resources behind them.
Perfect. You go back to your superpower. A lot of the solopreneurs are always comparing themselves to either franchises or bigger companies. It's the biggest mistake they make. You went to become a solopreneur because you hated the big companies. You did not want to work for them. You knew that they are soulless. And right then and there starts your differentiation. Your differentiation, don't ever try to be like the big guys. They're big, they have their own structural challenges as a result of it. But what is your superpower? First and foremost, you're more passionate about what you do than the people who work there. That's by definition, because you took a risk and you created a business. Now, I remember working with a client that they were a much smaller player in the industry, and they always compared themselves to the big guys, and they always felt inferior to them. They always felt that they're never going to be good enough because they have market share and they don't have market share. And I remember asking them, tell me, when was the last time that any customer asked you about your market share as a form of deciding if to do business with you or not? And they said, no one ever asked that. I said, so why are you so obsessed with size? Why are you so obsessed with size? No one ever asked you, how many employees do you have? How many resources do you have? All they care about is the person in front of me. Can they do the job? Can they do the job well? Can they deliver value? Can they care about me as a customer? That's all that matters. And you know what? That is your superpower, because that other guy who works for the big company has to worry about the latest emails that he got from the CEO about cost cutting, and he's afraid he's going to lose his job, and he's not getting what he wants because they just cut all the expenses, so he cannot do what he... You know how many problems he has? He cannot demonstrate that passion that you can in front of a customer. So the first thing, decide to be who you are and activate your passion, not as a weakness, but as a strength. Okay? And that is the first superpower. You care about what you do more than the corporate guys.
So after you embrace your superpower, what comes next?
What comes next is that you need to be very, very selective about who are the right customers. I have to tell you, Mark, this is an exercise I do with everyone. Everyone tells me, I don't have the right time and the right resources to take care of my good customers and delight them and deliver an exceptional value. So here's the thing. There are two ways in which you can engage with customers: inspiration or desperation. Inspiration is when your reputation is that you do a great job and everybody wants to work with you and your book of orders are long. And desperation is exactly the opposite. You do coupons, you're desperate, you'll cut price. By the way, 89% of salespeople cut price before they've been asked. Solopreneurs are worse than that. 89%. We're not even asked for a price discount, but we are so not confident with the value that we are delivering that we are offering discount like this is the main purpose of why we're here. Stop doing that and start asking, what will make my business inspirational? What touches can I add that the other guys will never do, that will make it something that the world will travel, and my reputation will be the one bringing more and more business. I tell solopreneurs all the time, your number one measure for success is referrals. Are you asking for them? Are you getting them? If you're not getting them, you're not inspirational enough. And if you are delivering the value and you're not asking for them, shame on you, because that is the cheapest cost of acquisition. Don't go and acquire new customers when existing customers who you delighted and delivered an exceptional value, they should bring you the next one. So that's the first thing. Make sure your value is shining, is different, is personal, and make sure that you're asking for the repeat business or for the referrals. But then I want to give you one more tool. I want each one of your listeners to kind of like think about a 2x2 table, okay? Which we will then map our customers. And our customer comes in 4 flavors. On the upper right-hand side are the frequent and profitable customers. These are the money makers. These are the one paying the bills. When they call you, you drop everything and you take care of them. Right next to them are the infrequent and profitable. The infrequent and profitable, they're still profitable. It's just that their business does not require a lot of your service. Okay? Those are still the sources of your existence. These are the people that should get all the attention. Where is your problem starts? Right at the bottom with the infrequent and unprofitable, IU. These people are not paying your full price. They're using a lot of coupons. They're driving you crazy. And thank God they're not frequent, because if they would have been frequent, you would have been in trouble. But the real trouble is what we call the FUs, the frequent and unprofitable. The frequent and unprofitable are basically taking your profit margins for the frequent and profitable, and they're stealing them because you're serving customers who have not paid their full value. And what happens is when you treat all customers the same, you underserve the frequent and profitable, which you should overserve, and you overserve the FUs, in which you should send to your competition. Because if you want to believe in win-win, send your worst customers to the competition, then you can win twice. You can focus on the profitable customers and give them more value, and you can save yourself the time and the losses. And because we chase every dollar, and we're not conscientious. I always ask entrepreneurs, what is the profile of customers you should never deal with? The one who don't have budget. Wrong. The ones that don't understand the value. The ones that don't have budget, for sure you're not supposed to be dealing with. But the ones who paid you little with a lot of coupons, that's also not a good sign. So map where your resources, where your efforts are going to, and you will discover that you're underserving your profitable customers and not giving them the value and the reason to give you referrals, and you're overserving customers that really are not willing to pay your full price because they don't appreciate it, because they treat you just as a vendor. And I tell you, when I share that with entrepreneurs and they start to map those, and I said to them, can you name 5 customers that you like that, FUs, that you have responded to in the last week? They can. They know exactly who they are. Then why are you talking to them? Send them to the competition. Do it gracefully. Don't hang up the phone on them, but just say, please, I am not the person for you. This is not the value for you.
You had mentioned inspirational a few times. What would as far as for the entrepreneurs, what are qualities that make a business owner or a business inspirational? What does that look like?
So, what does loyalty make up of? When do people pay the extra? When are they willing to pay the extra against, let's say, a cheaper price available from somewhere else? Let's think about it together. Mm-hmm. You speak to them in real language, not in jargon. Don't make them feel stupid, as sometimes we see in car dealerships. You respect their time. Their time is valuable. So if you're willing to do things in certain times, that's a form of extra. You personalize. You don't treat them like a number. You know their name. You know their children's name. Maybe you know their birthday. Maybe you send them a birthday card or something, but you treat them like human beings. I remember one simple example. I remember a saleswoman coming to meet me, And she calls like on the way, and I was like, oh, she's going to be late. She's calling me. She's like, Lior, I'm just calling before the meeting. I wanted to know if you are a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts guy. And I'm like, hey, we don't have that relationship yet that I'll share that with you. That's a very She's like, come on, just tell me. I'm like, I'm a Starbucks. And it's like, how do you like your coffee? And I tell her, a latte, a caramel latte, skim, one Splenda. She shows up with a cup, with a cup. And ever since, she always shows up with a cup. And, it was her way to say, look, I know I'm very busy and I know you're very busy, but I want you to know that when we are together, I know who you are. You are the skim latte caramel one Splenda. And that was her way of personalizing. It doesn't have to be costly, but it's a way of demonstrating I see you. In big corporations, it's very difficult to get that. The next thing is authenticity. Do you care for what you do? Many of the sole entrepreneurs have gone into that business because they really love what they do. Then show it. Don't try to play corporate. Show me exactly that you care about it, that what I'm getting is a handmade bespoke and not just a machine-made, whatever that solution is, whatever that service is. Show me. And last thing is leave a memory. Do a small little touch that will surprise me. At the end of the day, if you just meet my expectations, I'm not gonna become loyal because that's expected. Do something unexpected. Add a touch that will make it. This person is investing in the relationship, because here's the simple thing. Every relationship with a customer is like a bank account, and the customer is the banker. Okay? Every time that the customer is saying, hey, can we talk about price? You know what the customer is telling you, Mark? What the customer is saying, look, I'm the banker, and the amount of deposits that you made in are not justifying the withdrawal. Your request for a price is a form of withdrawal from our relationship bank account, but I haven't seen enough deposits to justify it. That's why they ask for it. If the amount of deposits are going to be significant, there's no reason for them to ask for it, because you've already demonstrated that you've added value. So we talked about respect my time, speak to me like a normal person, add knowledge to what I know. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. Personalize. Demonstrate authenticity, that you love what you do. Add a touch of memorability, a touch of extra. Those are things that can make the difference between competitive prices and high profitable.
So
And
Mark,
I'll give you an interesting example that just took place recently. So for those of you who were going to Starbucks way back, we all loved how the baristas will write our name and maybe do a squiggly face or something like that. And that disappeared in the last couple of years, with the takeaway and everything else. And the new CEO of Starbucks, you know what he activated? He activated exactly that. Exactly that. He took away some tasks, some processes from the baristas, put all the condiments outside so they don't have to deal with it. And he doesn't care if people will steal extra 3 Splendas there. But he told the baristas, I want you to look them in the eyes. I want you to write their name with the Sharpie, and I want you to write a message or thank you or whatever. That's what he activated. He didn't look for another profitable item. He understood that they lost their soul. And the moment you lose your soul, you lose your profitability. And that is what every sole entrepreneur can bring, that no big corporation can bring so easily, and that is a soul.
That is awesome. Once you get inspirational, the foundation's there, you're ready to move ahead. What is the next chapter after inspirational? What is next?
The next chapter, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, and I had to go through this by the way myself, we start as both the chief executive and the chief delivery person. But there comes a point when you're going to be busy that you're going to have to make the ultimate choice. Do you want to be the chief executive, or do you want to be the chief delivery person? Let's say you're in the plumbing business. Do you want to keep on take care of plumbing issues, or you want to be the manager of the plumbers? The two cannot coexist. So now the question is, from a lifestyle standpoint, what are your aspirations? Some people say, look, Lior, I enjoy, I'm an artist, and all I want to do is I want to do my plumbing. Leave me alone. Then go and outsource the rest to someone else so you can do what you like. If your dream is to be the biggest plumbing business in Missouri, then let go doing your own plumbing. Start teaching your people and empower them. And then start giving them the tools to be successful. So that is a juncture that a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling with. Sometimes they justify it by not having enough money, so they cannot just be the manager or whatever, but that's just an excuse. It's an excuse because you simply put a plan in place and you start building your team in order to get there. But that's the next thing. So the question really is, what story of your life do you want to tell? Do you want to tell a story of you being there for customers personally, or you want to be telling a story of a person who was a leader who enabled other people to live up to their dreams and help customers?
So you mentioned something comes next, and I think you said team, as far as they pick the role, they're writing the story of, running the company or being the artist, being the plumber. Is a team what comes next, or is there something in between?
Some people will choose to say, I want to be a sole entrepreneur because I want to be the artist. And some will say, I want to build a team. All I'm saying is you can be part of the team and the leader at the same time. This is very confusing. And you will always be gravitating to doing more plumbing job than really take care of your people and grow them and expand and so on and so forth. So I think it's a confusing moment. A lot of people are trying to dance on both stages. It doesn't work. And it's a choice. What will ultimately give you satisfaction, pride? Where's your superpower? Is your superpower unplugging and unclogging pipes? Or is your superpower inspiring people to get to the best level that they can? Because I believe that a true manager or true leader, for that matter, is someone who actually helps his own team reach out to new level of performance that they did not know that they're capable of. That is extremely rewarding if you find reward in that.
So once you get to this point, the climb is so exciting, getting started and, becoming inspirational and doing what you love. You're the artist, you're the manager, whatever it might be. When you get to the point where it could be kind of a plateau of I've achieved all of this stuff in the start, which is exciting. How do you maintain inspiration and how do you maintain the drive and not just get stuck in the status quo once you hit that plateau of the initial burst is done? How do you keep excited? How do you keep going?
So I heard that from a soccer manager in England who won a lot of trophies. And on the way to his office, you can see all the trophies. And I asked him, what makes you wake up in the morning? I mean, like, you won them all. You beat all the competitors out there, okay? You're well known. And he said to me, there comes a point where you no longer define yourself by the competitive set. You define yourself by the challenges that you give to yourself, the growth that you can create for yourself. And I will tell you this, in life, if you look at, think about your time like a pie chart, and let's try to divide it to things that Mark planned and came the way and came through the way Mark planned it to be, things that Mark planned but didn't come out the way you wanted, and things that Mark didn't plan but happened to Mark. If you look at those three slivers out of the pie chart, which one is the biggest one?
I would imagine it would have to do the things you haven't done yet.
So for most people, it's the things you planned but didn't come through the way you wanted, and the things that you didn't plan. Life is full of unexpected situations. So Mark, the truth is that whatever force you believe is controlling this world, we'll be given those opportunities every day. And those opportunities are going to be there. And the question is, when they're going to come, are we ready with our resilience, our ability to embrace change and look for thriving as opposed to surviving, and then make the best out of them and surprise ourselves and the people around us? Or are we going to look at them and default to victimhood and say, no, I enjoyed what happened yesterday, and that's where I want to be? So there's always there an opportunity. I had a conversation with the person, and he said to me, Lior, how do you define the role of luck in life? That was the question. And I said, that's an interesting question. You believe that luck is going to the lottery station, the 7-Eleven, and buying a ticket and waiting for God to give you the winning numbers. He said, yeah, that's my definition of luck. I said, that's not luck, man. Let me tell you something. I said, luck is refining your skills in whatever your superpower is. So when the opportunity will come, you'll see it when others will not. Why did Mark Benioff started Salesforce and other technology executives did not? Why did a certain entrepreneur will see an opportunity in opening a Vietnamese restaurant in his backyard and other people will never dare to do that? You know why? Because by the time they came to that decision, they refined their superpower, they refined their knowledge, they refined their confidence that they could make that decision and others could not. And then they became lucky. Their luck was a work of 20 years of refining your skills, refining your toolbox, and then coming to the opportunity. And you and I will look at the same opportunity, and you, Mark, will say, "That's a great opportunity. I'm going to grab that, and I'm not comfortable with that opportunity. The risk here is too large for me because I don't know the space. I don't know how to do it," and so on and so forth. So in the book, in Dare to Author, I tell a story about a manufacturer of shoes who sent two of his employees to Africa to see if there is an opportunity there. And one of them is calling me and says, "Oh, boss, no, nobody's wearing shoes here. We have no business being in Africa because no one is wearing shoes here." And right when he hangs up, the other guy calls me and says, "Oh, boss, you don't understand. I'm in Africa. Nobody's wearing shoes. We have huge opportunity here. We can sell as many shoes as possible." Going back to that, luck is what we create after we refine our superpower, we discover our mission, we discover our vision, and then we see opportunities that others do not see.
Well, you had mentioned, and I love this word, resilience. You're into this, you have the inspiration, you know how to get past the plateau. To be able to see opportunities, much less take advantage of opportunities, could you unpack resilience a little bit more? How do you maintain the mental resilience to, for lack of a better term, keep on keeping on so you can take advantage of opportunities? Because I know resilience is such an important part of being an entrepreneur.
So, when I was younger, I was fascinated by this Disney line, "If you can dream it, you can do it." And today, I'll be the first one to call bullshit on this. Sorry for my language. A huge BS on it. And that is because after several decades of dreaming it, I learned that this line is flawed because it's missing the middle section. And the middle section, and every entrepreneur will agree with that, the middle section is, if you can dream it, and you're willing to put the efforts for it, and you're willing to make the trade-offs, then you have a better chance of doing it. But just leaping from dreaming to doing it, there's no such a thing. So the question is not what you dream. The question is what you're willing to pay for your dream. How much are you willing to put efforts behind it? For me, resilience is the willingness to go through and recognize that failures is part of the game. Failures is part of the game. And it is not a failure if you convert it into future knowledge, future insights, future refinement of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do, and future tools. So when you're young and you don't know how to deal with failure, and we are used to our traditional high school scores, F or A, we assume that F is a detriment sentence. It's a vote of no confidence. In real life, it's all experiences that we need to convert. What we don't do is we don't convert them into future tools, into future insights, and so on and so forth. So resilience is part of that constant conversion. What did I learn from it? Not how do you feel about it, not bring it to closure. It's all about closure. For me, it's about constant conversion of past experiences into future skills, into future tools and beliefs. Winston Churchill said that the definition of success is moving from one failure to the other without losing momentum. So for those who are a little bit more macabre in their thinking, here's another way of doing it. But the truth is, again, we're not here to run a 100-meter sprint. We're here to run a marathon. That's something I had to discover about myself. I always thought that I will not have the stamina for that. Running a business for 18 years, with the amount of pressure, just for illustration purposes, I was doing about 250,000 miles a year on airplanes, okay? Hopping from one from one client to the other. They wanted me, I felt needed, and everything else. I put my heart and soul in helping them with their stress and with their transformation. But heck, it was a price. It was a price to pay. And I had 5 children at home, and I made sure to be every weekend with them and so on and so forth. But if you're not willing to pay the price, you're never going to get the reward. And I always told my employees that the difficulties we are facing is the price we pay for the privilege to do great things. And the bigger the price, the more likely, the greater the thing that we're doing. It's a privilege to be there to help people. But you know what? You're going to have to pay a price. There's nothing in this world without paying a price.
Is the price ever too big? I mean, is there a certain point where you say the price is too much, I'm not going to do this? Or does resilience kick in and you have to get to the next plateau? Is there a point people should say, I'm done? Or should they keep on going? And how do they do it as far as paying the price is concerned?
So I'll give you 2 answers to that. The first one is it's a personal choice. Okay? It's a personal choice. And I had this discussion with one of my kids, who's now a manager at a large corporation. And she was talking to me about work-life balance. And I was laughing. I said, there's no such a thing. For one person is working hybrid. For the other person is pursuing, aggressive career in which they'll get promoted faster than everyone else. It's very personal. So answer number 1, it's very personal. But here's answer number 2, which I believe is a deeper one. The biggest mistake I think we all make is to claim that between 9 to 5, we live to make a living, and afterwards we find purpose. And I'm calling the shots on this one, and I'm saying this is how you're going to live. The most awake, the most productive hours of your life, you're saying, I'm only doing that in order to finance something that I'm going to do when I'm half asleep or half drunk. No. Find purpose in what you do. And the way I describe it in the book is when you look at the people who are the recipients of your work, colleagues and customers, and you are in a position to help them with whatever it is. It can be a small thing, it can be a big thing. That should be a source of purpose. That should be a source of fulfillment. And when you assign to it a fulfillment because you are activating your superpower, because you focus on the power you do have, not the power you don't have. You don't make excuses, you find solutions. You help people. You can look in their eyes virtually or physically and how you help them out. That is where resilience will be activated. That is when you realize that you are being given a stage in which to perform your superpower and your talent, and you rose up to the better version of yourself. Because each and every one of us have 2 versions, the mediocre average version and the superpower version. And you know what the difference between the 2 of them? Personal choice. Because no one can force you to be creative. No one can force you to smile from your heart. No one can force you to think outside of the box. No one can force you to take ownership. No employment contract includes clauses dictating 37 creative ideas a month. All of those are personal choices. And when you activate them, when you get the superpower, you also gain the resilience because you're doing things that you're proud of, not that you have to do. You're doing things that you look in the mirror at the end of the day and you don't say, today I unplugged 5 pipes that were stuck. Today I helped 5 families go back to normalcy. I helped Katie go back to take a shower after her soccer game. I helped Joe coming back from work and be able to have a great cup of water because I help people. The pipes are just the vehicle to get there. And I think we're all gravitating to the technical definition of what we do and not to the impact definition of how we change lives. And we don't discover that we have that power. And resilience comes when you find purpose.
This has been awesome. We have covered a lot of ground in a fairly short period of time. When it comes to being the author of your own life, chasing that big idea, making it come to life, whether it's something we spoke about or something you haven't touched on yet, if you were to say, above all else, at least do this one thing, what would that one thing be?
I would say stop succumbing to cynicism. Cynicism is a force of destruction. Cynicism is saying, don't bother. Cynicism is saying, it's not worth it. Cynicism is saying, nothing is ever going to change. And we all become cynical and we don't understand the destructive nature of that. So even if you're not ready to discover what your superpower is, at least clean up the runway for the possibilities. At least make sure that in the language you choose, in the words you choose, ask yourself, are they creating paralysis or are they creating hope? For yourself, not just for the others. Are you, in your words, in your choice of words, are you creating hope now? Or are you further engaging in paralysis and institutionalizing helplessness?
This has been excellent. I so appreciate you. If people want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
So you can follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm very active, but LiorArussy.com, just as my name appears here, LiorArussy.com, you'll get tons of articles and videos that you can immerse in the way I'm thinking about things. Obviously, Dare to Author, it's not just a book, it's also a guide with a lot of guiding questions to help people discover their own story. So every chapter has guiding questions. If you love the book and you want to take it more seriously, just drop me a quick note via email and I'll send you a PDF work plan that I designed for those who are very serious in doing that. Will be my gift to you. Hopefully you will then give your gifts to the world and the whole world will be a better place as a result of it.
Beautiful way to end. Thanks again, Lior. You're awesome.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me. I enjoyed the conversation.
And scene. Thank you for tuning into the Idea Climbing radio show today. I really appreciate it. I hope you got something great out of it that you can take into your own life and use to be better in your own life. If you want more great shows like this, go to 216thenet.com. You want to see more of my interviews, radio show, and podcast? Go to markjcartertv.com. Again, that's markjcartertv.com and 216thenet.com. Hope to see you on one of those platforms or maybe even both.